Hello and welcome everybody to Wealth is a Team Sport. I started this podcast, I'm writing a book and I'm doing all that good stuff, but I really kind of sat down and thought about it. I just think one of the most valuable gifts that you can give to people is peace of mind. And I really have always felt like you learn from others. Life is hard. You're going to make a lot of your own mistakes. So anytime you get a chance to talk with an expert or someone who's been there and done that, take advantage, learn those lessons, and then you can make new ones all of your own. So that's really what this show is about. And today we're going to be talking with Bill, and he's just got a wealth of experience. So I'm really looking forward to sharing him with you and getting into his brain and understanding some of the cool things that he's known. And for anyone who's new, welcome to the show. I think a lot of people might be saying, okay, well, why is a financial person having this kind of a show? And, because what I do as an advisor is I help people achieve and retain the lifestyle you want. And money is so much more, abundance is so much more than money. Having a good life, you have all those components of your family and your spiritual life and your health. And it's just kind of this whole big holistic process that we have to look at. And so I just like bringing in experts that can help. You never know which part of your life someone's going to touch, because once you get one part of your life going, it kind of snowballs and it helps everything. So that's what this show is going to be all about. In my business, success starts with relationships. I think that's actually probably true about life, but definitely in business. And trust is always one of those key ingredients. And, you can't build trust by saying, hey, everybody, trust me. You have to figure out how to have conversations and do some education. And there's kind of a process to building trust. And so we're going to do that with Bill here in just a minute. Going to ask him about some of his background and his expertise. Let me do a quick introduction so you know who we're talking about, and then we're going to jump right in. So Bill is currently one of the top action coach business coaches in the world. He speaks on a wide range of business topics and loves to teach business owners how to build commercial, profitable businesses that work without them, the business owner. I love that idea. We're going to talk about that. Bill lives in Montreat, North Carolina, with his wife of 33 years, Lynn. They have 2 grown sons. And in his spare time, Bill enjoys fishing, reading books on business and theology, and doing basically anything outdoors with his sons. So, Bill, welcome to the show.
It's good to be here. It's actually Montreat, North Carolina. It's actually a T in there instead of Montreal, but that's okay. That's okay. We're a little place. We're outside of Asheville. For people who don't know where we are, it's a little bit outside of Asheville, North Carolina. So
okay.
So we're in that part of the world, but it's great to be here.
So we're just going to kind of jump right in because, if people go to your website, you've got a lot of great information. And one of the things that I really liked about your background after I met with you, right, of course, I had to go and then learn more about you, is you just have a depth of experience as a presenter, an entrepreneur, and a business coach. And so can you just kind of share with us, how did you become like a coach dealing with people? Because didn't you start out earning an engineering degree from Duke?
Yeah, I did. I started life as an engineer. I never really was an engineer. Well, that's not true. I was an engineer for about a month. I got, my dad was in retail and he said, look, you're good at science and math. You should, engineering pays well. You should probably think about getting an engineering degree. And it kind of made sense, and I didn't know what I was doing, so I could do it. I could do the work. So that's what I did. I got an engineering degree, and he was right. What engineering did was, engineering gives you a way to think. Mm-hmm. That, at least about problems and how to solve problems and those kind of things. So that was useful, no matter whether it was a technical problem or some other problem, or some other opportunity or challenge. So, from that standpoint, it was useful. Also, it was not hard at the time to get a job. Some of my classmates, most of them didn't have much trouble getting jobs, but it wasn't like now where there's just so many more jobs than people out there. So that was useful. But long story short, I got into sales and marketing. I was in corporate for a couple of years. Figured out that I didn't want to climb the corporate ladder and be part of a big bureaucracy. Mm-hmm. my dad worked for a company, but they kind of left him alone. He was a bit entrepreneurial. They allowed him to run. They allowed him to run his own store. He had to go see a guy for about 2 or 3 days once a year. And then other than that, as long as his store was producing, they were happy. And so I didn't know what to do. So I got an MBA, and I went to work for a family-owned business, and I was there about 6 months, and they fired the guy running one division of the business and said, "Hey, we want you to run it." And so yeah, I learned business the wrong way. I learned it top down, and it's just not. It's okay. I mean, sometimes these things happen. People get, if you're out there and you're in that position, you're listening to this, and you all of a sudden you're promoted into something you don't know what you're doing. It's okay. Neither does anybody else. They don't. I mean, if everybody knew what they were doing, it would be easy, right?
Right.
So yeah. So I knew I wanted to go into business for myself. It was a father-son business. I wasn't part of the family. I ended up being a referee, quite a bit, and finally, I just got sort of tired of that. And I went and started a business that I didn't, it was just a business. I wasn't really in love with the business or anything about it. It was an automotive related business. We did well with it until I got bored with it, and then it kind of just started, and that's where I realized that I didn't love it.
Okay.
And so my wife looked at me one day and said, "You're miserable. I want to move 7 hours away and take a job working for my college." And so I said, "All right, well, let's try to figure out how to do that." So we did. Long story short, we sold the business, the building, and moved. And I got involved in some was in the Shenandoah Valley of Virginia, and I got involved in some poultry related businesses. And I just met some guys, and they needed some help, and I started helping them, and then I ended up working there for about 4 or 5 years, and then we kind of got to a point where we sold one of those businesses, and I was a minority piece of those businesses, by the way. I wasn't, the main owner. And so once we sold that business, I didn't really have anything to do, so I started looking around, found this idea of kind of what I was doing anyway, which was helping businesses, and on a bigger scale. And the rest is history. We've been doing that for over 15 years now. So, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I feel better because there's some common threads there because, I went to the Air Force Academy and I majored in biochemistry, but the way the curriculum is set up, I automatically had a minor in engineering, whether I wanted it or not. Right. So I think there definitely is a mindset that it does teach you how to think through problems and kind of that process oriented way.
Sure.
So I think that's really interesting. But so I just want you to talk a little bit about that. And you kind of started to touch on it because you've owned businesses, and you say you're a minor part, but you've been in the automation, poultry, business brokerage. You've kind of been all over the map as far as what the business was about. What are the common threads that you found? Because obviously there's some linkage there because you have this great coaching and speaking business that you do.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I think is like everything is, test and measure is a commonality. Okay. So, and that's something that a lot of people don't think about. But when it comes to, say, marketing or running a business, there are a lot of things that you need to measure and test before you actually go big with it. It wouldn't make sense to spend $100,000 on a direct mail campaign. You wouldn't do it that way. You would start and spend $1,000 and see what, maybe a few thousand and maybe a few hundred first, and then a few thousand, and kind of tweak it until you got it working. That's what great marketers do. So, for me, some of those businesses were not a good fit for me. So it was test and measure. Now that's a pretty extraordinary learning to actually get involved in a business and but I think everybody goes through that. People take a job and it's not right for them, or people, or it's right for them for a while, but then either they outgrow it or the job outgrows them or something, and it's time to do something else. And that's okay. Right. That's okay. So I think it's measure and test. The second thing that I think is common is that, all businesses are people businesses. There's you talked about relationships earlier. It's all about relationships. One of the things that I've learned is that it's all about the people you can surround yourself with. I mean, I love the name of your show, like, wealth is a team sport, because you can't do any of this stuff by yourself.
Right.
You can't, there's no way to build a true business without other people. I mean, you could be the only true employee, but you're going to have, you're going to have a wealth advisor. You're going to have an accountant. You're going to have a banker. You're going to have a, lawyer. You're going to have a team around you. Even if you're a solopreneur, or even if you're, even if even if you're let's say you're an insurance salesperson, for example, even if you're just a salesperson, that's your business, right? That's how you make your living. So whatever it is, whatever your job is your business. That's how you make it, but you can't do it by yourself. You got to have a team. So I think that's the case. The fundamentals that all businesses are built on are the same. Okay. So the people are what makes it different. The commonality is how you would grow a business is, I look at it the same for every business. Now I'm going to do it differently. I'm going to use a different recipe, but it's kind of like a kitchen, right? You go into a kitchen and I go into the same kitchen, and you're going to make spaghetti and I'm going to make hamburgers. Well, we're going to use the same kitchen, but we're going to come out with a very different result, right? But the tools, the utensils that are available to us are the same. We've got the same oven. We've got the same grill or whatever. We've got the same spatulas. We've got all the tools that are the same. The tools are the same to build any business. It's just a matter of which tools you're going to pull off the rack to use to build it. So there's there's an underlying sort of business chassis that applies to every business. And so those are the commonalities, but the people are what makes the difference.
See, and I love that you said it, that all businesses are people businesses, because in the Air Force, we used to have a question like, as a commander and a leader, do you think the mission comes first or the people come first? And I was always firmly in the camp of the people come first, because the people take care of the mission. You take care of your people and then the mission will happen. And to me, that's what you're saying. And that's just how it works in business. And so, I've always been a big believer in teams. And I think it's hard because you find people sometimes, I think, that try to do everything themselves. And, in life, it's never a question of, can you do everything? There's probably almost nothing in life that you couldn't figure out how to do. It just comes down to time. And how are you going to try to, balance and prioritize? You have your business and hopefully your family's in there somewhere and you have that balance. So, how have you developed relationships to help your clients' success and, modeling for them, and then also building relationships that help you help your clients? Because you just can't know everything.
No. Well, first of all, life's a mirror. So, what I notice in my clients, if I'm doing it, they're doing it. So if I'm building a team, they're building a team. Like, when I first, I had a business partner in Virginia, and when we, it was a very amicable move. He took his clients and I took my clients, and we moved. And for a while I was just like, look, I need to read, this is a pretty good gig. I need to just hang in here and see. But what I realized was that what I do is build businesses. And so it doesn't make sense for me not to be building my own business. It's not even congruent to not be doing it. And so, so the first thing is to model building a business. So building up my own team. So working with my own team and helping them be the best they can be. I've done a lot of sort of inner work over the years. And one of the things that we discovered was that, my purpose is to help people actually live their purpose. And so that's why this coaching thing is such a good fit. But it also comes down to employees, right? And the relationships I build with them. So I think it helps being a parent. I actually do think when it comes to employees, because, there are times when you have to discipline an employee, and there are times when you have to discipline a child. And it doesn't mean that, that I don't love my kid anymore. In fact, the reason I discipline them is because I do love them. And it's a little bit the same as an employee. Like, I really do, value and like the contributions that my team makes, and I want to make them the best they can be. And if that leads them somewhere else, that's a win. that's not a loss for me. That's a win. Is it a pain to have to replace a great employee? Yeah, it's terrible, but it's still a win. And so, but in building outside relationships, I just think you got to do the work. I mean, it's about putting in the time. It's about, making the phone calls. It's about calling people. It's about reaching out on LinkedIn. It's about doing the things. And if and if it's more than you can handle, then I've got a team who does a lot of my LinkedIn. They're reaching out, and we're making connections. And, I've found that, we, like you and I mean, we find a lot of good connections are made online, but you have to do the work to get it. Like this vehicle right here is building a relationship, starting to build a bit of a relationship, right? We're going to know each other a lot better after this. So whatever the work is, it might be a coffee. It might be a connection to somebody else. I just, 5 minutes ago, I just connected a relatively new client that I have in a group program to one of my other clients, because I believe they can be strategic partners, so, it's kind of being awake, just like where's the opportunities, and make it a sport, and make it, I have, Beth, who works for me. One of her jobs is to go out and build relationships, go out and talk to people. You have to a bit of divide and conquer. You, as a business person, or as anybody, if you want to build relationships, you got to do the work.
I love that you said that actually, so you can be very intentional about it. It's not like, hey, you just happen to be very charismatic and you're a nice guy and everybody likes you. It's a very intentional thing. And I love what you said, because I value that in my business. Is my goal is to help other people succeed. I'm helping them. Yeah. It's not about like making money is like, should be that what follows along, because your value is that you're helping people.
Yeah. The less, when I show up at my best, good things happen.
Right.
Okay. So it's the same for you. When you show up at your best, good things happen, whatever that is,
right.
Whatever those descriptors would be of you. And then, and also, it's interesting work to think about, like who do you want to become? Because once you start thinking about that, then that you can be very intentional about that as well. And so, some people, wealth is one of their goals, should be one of their goals. That's just one of the goals, but there's also health and spiritual and, those kind of things, business, whatever it is, however you want to show up in the world. And so that sort of things, to me, you should have goals in all those areas. And, hopefully you got to do the work either way. You got to do the work.
So I want to delve a little deep here for a second, kind of talk strategy, but, and like in the market, we talk about, an up market takes care of itself, making money. Everybody's okay with that. It's hard when it's down. And I think probably as a coach, people don't, they say humans are motivated by fear and greed. I like to think we can be a little higher evolved, but, people come to you generally when they have a problem, because when things are going fine, then they don't really need help. So how do you tackle that? Because, especially I assume people start looking into business coaching, either one, because they're having a problem, or they might be being proactive and saying, I'm ready to up level to that next phase. So how do you tackle that when you're dealing, because there's those human emotions that get wrapped up in it, where people are frustrated or having doubts. Right. Or how do you handle that?
Yeah. Well, I think there's sort of three kinds of goals. There's away from goals, which you were talking about. How do you get out of pain? There's which is way easier. People are way motivated to get out of the hot water. Right. They just are. Okay. Like they want to get out. So they're in a hole. They want to get out of the hole. Okay. Then there's towards pleasure. There's towards pleasure. So you're out of the hole. So sometimes being out of the hole, makes them feel like they're really where they should be. Well, that's not where they should be. They should be on the mountain somewhere, right? They should have these towards goals. And then I think the third, so for me, and then the third kind of goals are legacy goals, like what do you want to leave for the what's the stamp you want to make on the world? Right. What's the imprint you want to leave for for the rest of the world. My dad always said, I just want to leave the world a little bit better place than when I came in it. That's a great philosophy, I think, so that's part of it. So part of what we do is use that metaphor. Like, I'm like, look, I can help you get out of the hole, but that's not going to be, it's going to feel really good for a while. Okay. But that's not the goal here. If you're not interested in climbing a mountain, then maybe I'm not the right person for you. Right. Because, and I've helped we've helped a lot of people with that, but it's interesting. The more we've done this and the better known we've gotten, of course, the better clients you attract. Right. Sure. And so most of our clients now are really interested in something more. They may have a problem, but a lot of them do pretty well. Like, they get it, they get the business to a point, and then they just kind of run into themselves, and it's like, hey, I'm here, and it's not bad. It's just that, like, I really don't know what's next, or I don't know how to go to the next, what the next level is. And so those are great clients. I mean, those are clients that can be, because they're looking for more. I mean, they're wanting to grow. They're wanting to be something different or better.
So that really kind of dovetails to my next question. And I'm loving this interview, Bill. I could talk to you for a much longer time than we have. But, one of these concepts I'm trying to really share with some of my clients, and talking like you're saying, I love the 3 ways you describe the motivation is definitely those people that want to do more than just get out of the hole. Right. And I've been trying to share this idea of leverage, or calling it building momentum, where you're getting past that point is simply just having your money do one job, that you're trading hours for dollars, that you're actually getting to that point like a business owner where you can step away and the business keeps going. What kind of a story do you use to help? Because for some people, that's like a revolutionary concept, and you can't help take them to that next level when they don't even understand, like, you can use leverage and accelerate the way things work. Do you have any kind of a nice story or visual that you've used when you speak to this kind of concept?
Yeah, I do. So what we use is kind of a ladder. Okay. And so, what the people will love the idea of having a business that can work without them, but a lot of them can't see how that's possible.
Right.
They're too deep into the weeds. And so having a ladder. So there's 6 steps on the ladder. So the first step is mastery. And basically, there's 4 areas in mastery. There's money mastery, time mastery, delivery mastery, which is about basic levels of customer service, and then destination mastery, which is that vision that we're talking about. Like, if you don't know where you're going, it's pretty hard. It's pretty hard. It's pretty hard to bring anybody else on as a team or whatever. But that's kind of a foundation. Right. And then the next level is called niche, which is about cash flow. Okay. So the first level is about having a commercial enterprise. The second level is about creating cash flow. Okay. So that's where niche comes in. Like, what's your thing? What makes you different, and that sort of thing, or, we call it USP, unique selling proposition. They've probably heard that. And then there's a whole formula for cash flow. That's that chassis that I was talking about that people are built on. So, essentially it's simple. You got leads and you don't convert them all. And so some of those people become customers, and then they buy from you an average ticket, and then they buy from you whatever their repeat business is. And when you multiply the number of customers times the repeat business times the average ticket, you get your revenues. Essentially, and then you get to keep some of it, which is your margins. And so if you go to work and improve in those 5 areas, then your cash flow goes up. Guess what? You can invest it back in the business or in whatever it is you're investing in. Okay. So then the third step is actually called leverage. Okay. And that is about systemizing your business. Okay. That's about putting the systems in place so that it becomes repeatable.
That's where your engineer mind comes in.
Yeah. So it's leverage. And then the 4th step is called team. We can get into this deeper. They can go on my, this all out on YouTube and everything else. And then the team. So what we want to move from in a business is from being 100% people dependent, even though I said people are super important and I still believe
Right.
that. But if you do have to replace somebody, it's nice to have a system to put them into. This is one of the things that the military is great at. Okay. All right. Now, they also have overdone it in some cases, but they are good at having, a system of how to change the brakes on a helicopter. I mean, that's they've got that. They've got the system, or how you would do a certain task. It's all written down, it's all systemized, it's in the book. Okay. So then once you build the team, then you can go to work. At that point, you can put a GM in place. They can run the business for you. By the way, not everybody wants this path, and that's okay. It doesn't matter if you don't want the path. It's okay. The path is the same. If you're going to grow a business and you want to work all the time and keep, if you want to work all the time and stay in it and you're a control freak, great. You can still going to build the business the same way. Okay. Now, the next step is called synergy. That's about scaling. That's about models. That's about multiplication, taking it to multiple places. And the last is called results, which is sort of hopefully more time and more money for you to invest. Now, why is it? How does this apply to wealth? Okay. Well, I believe that creating wealth starts with business. Okay. You got to have a source of income.
Right.
Okay. Okay. So you either got to have a good job, and it doesn't matter if you have a good job or not. If you're taking, the math is super simple, right? If you take a certain percentage of your income every month, you start when you're 20 years old, you're going to have a bunch by the time you're 40, if you do it right. Okay. Mm-hmm. It's just math. It's just not that hard. Okay. So, but the problem is most of us don't do that. They don't do it. They don't start early enough. Okay. Mm-hmm. So don't worry, if you're behind the 8 ball, get started. But so I believe that there's three ways. There's business, then there's real estate, and then there's paper assets, or trading, or those kind of things. So your business, if that's a job, should be throwing off money to invest in one of those other 2 buckets. And in some case, it should, if you get to most of you should be in all 3 buckets. Okay. Mm-hmm. Just because if stock market's up, maybe real estate's down, or maybe business is up, up, something's down. So you got diversification right there in your wealth building.
Yeah. Diversity is not 5 different mutual funds. Diversity is, like you're saying, it's totally different asset classes.
That's right.
Real estate and business.
That's right. Yeah. And a lot of people don't, the truth is most financial advisors are very good at the investing paper assets piece of this.
Well, business. Right, because that's what they get paid for.
That's right. That's right. So, but there's also room to create that. The truth is there's more. If their business is if you look at most wealth that was created, or most super wealthy people, it started with a business.
Right.
Okay. Mm-hmm. It might have been a real estate business, but it was a business.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And not always, but so once you have wealth, you can obviously keep reinvesting it if you're smart and make more. But that's sort of my view of it. I don't know if that was too much or.
No, I love that, because, and it's just because people don't understand. You don't know what you don't know. You don't teach it in high schools, and nope. I've had to dig it out. Actually, I came to my business. I was a real estate investor first, and in the military. So I had the team building part, and then I learned a lot in real estate. And now that I have this holistic view. So when I look at someone's finances, I look at all those things. I look at the businesses, their insurances, what they're saving, like a holistic picture. And you don't fix what's working, but you look for those gaps and say, okay, here's where you've got a hole and we need to fix that.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome that you came from that path, because that's really helpful for you as an advisor to be able to advise people like what they should be doing. And it was actually helping them. Yeah.
I had to start my own business, because when I was working, with my very first company, it was very simple, cookie cutter. You sold everybody some insurance and put them in an IRA mutual fund. And I said, okay, a monkey could do that. When do we start helping people? And I kind of got this blank look, like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, everybody's different. Some people have 5 kids. Some people have no kids. Some people have a disabled family member, and some people, want to climb that mountain to the top. We can't do the same thing for every single person. And so that was like, I was like, oh, I gotta get out of this and start my own business, because I wanted the satisfaction comes when you take a person where they are and help them get to whatever their next level is.
Yeah, of course.
That's
Yeah.
when it's, that's the part that I love.
Yeah.
But Bill, we are just having a great time. Before we go, I would like you just to take a minute and share with the people listening in today, what do you have to offer? I mean, you have a lot, but what do you want to share with them, that how they can connect with you and what they should be looking for?
Yeah. I have a book called The Coach Approach. If you want like a PDF version of it, you can go to giftfrombill.com, just giftfrombill.com, and you can just download it. If you want to buy it, it's on Amazon and wherever else you can buy books. But we also have a Facebook group. It's called We Build Epic Entrepreneurs. If you search for it, it'll pop up. We'd love to have you join that if you'd like to. We also have a podcast. It's just called Epic Entrepreneurs. It's on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. We have a mixture of guests and tips on that. And you can just check me out on my website. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on everywhere, anywhere out there. If you want to let me know that you're joining us from LinkedIn, from seeing us here, just put something about Tara on here, and we'll connect. But we connect with everybody anyway. So we're happy to know as many people. When I was probably only about 13 or 14, one of my friends' dad owned a bank, and he told me one time, he said, "You can't know enough good people, Bill." And I think that's great advice. So, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, so, I was going to wrap up. Bill just shared so much. So you're going to have to go back and listen to this, because this is actually just a short interview, and he's chock full of some really good advice. But my number one takeaway from this conversation with you, Bill, is it's about people. And it doesn't matter what your specific business is. It's always going to be about those relationships and that team you're building and those people that you're putting together. So thank you for sharing that. And I love, because you have that, but you also have that engineer brain. So you can tell people, here's how you build those relationships. Here's the processes, and here's the foundations that make it all work. So you're kind of unique, I think, in that way, that you can bring those two things together. Some people are good at one or the other, but you've kind of got the whole package there. So,
well, I mean, building relationships is a process. So I guess you can look at it that way if you want. You can make it as systematic or as natural, or however you want to do it. It just depends on where you fall on that spectrum. That's up to you. Yeah.
Oh, I love it. I love it. So you know how to meet people where they are. So I am very excited to hear about everyone's success. When you connect with Bill's got a lot of great offers. You can get his book, and so that's going to be educational, motivational for you guys. So hopefully you get some value out of that. This new life savvy is just super important. And remember, you can share this interview with your friends and coworkers. And I love how Bill said, is you can't know enough good people. So share it around, because you never know who's going to hit. It's going to be the connection for the person at that right moment in time. So again, Bill, if anyone wants to contact you directly, how do they reach out to you?
Probably my email is the best. It's a little bit long. It's William Gilliland, and that's Gilliland at ActionCOACH.com.
Okay. And that'll be right in the comments for you guys to look at that. So don't forget that you can share this interview with your friends who may not have been able to listen in today. I'm really looking forward to sharing our must-know topic with you next time. I can't wait to hear about all your success, and I'll talk with you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.